Hello YouTube, Dave here again. So I'm back with another Pathfinder Playtest video. So today I'm going to be talking about the three things in the Pathfinder Playtest, at least the three things that I've experienced or encountered so far, that I would like to see modified or changed. Now a couple of caveats here. Number one, this is only based on my experiences as GMing a couple of games for the first level characters and for 4th level characters, so some of these things may or may not seem like such an issue later on at higher levels, but I haven't experienced that as of yet. The other thing is that the rule revision 1.2 has come out, but I've been having difficulties downloading it. Like when I've clicked on it, it's just kind of led to like a broken link. And I tried downloading it. It looked like it downloaded the other day, and it ended up just giving me a PDF that I couldn't open, which happened with the revision 1.1 as well. So some of these things may be rendered pointless by the time I actually finally get the rules downloaded. But I still wanted to get the video out regardless. So I'm just going to dive right into it and start with the number 3 thing that I would like to see changed. So in the video that I did with the top 5 things I really liked about the Pathfinder playtest, I discussed the idea of resonance points, and I really liked the idea of having resonance points in the first place in order to invest in some of your magic items, so that, you know, it's a similar idea to attuning to magic items in 5th edition D&D, but it's its own sort of separate thing. Resonance points kind of takes a step further, so certain actions require you to spend, or certain items require you to spend resonance points in order to activate and use them. Things like staves, for example, which can have spells or cantrips in them. If you're casting a spell, you have to spend a resonance point in order to activate and use the item. If some items do have cantrips stored in them, they typically don't require you to spend resonance points, although there are a few things that actually use cantrips. So anyway, the issue that I have with that is that while I like the system, there's one aspect of it that I'm really not too keen on, and that is the fact that you have to spend resonance points to utilize potions in this game. So as you can see here, it even mentions spend any resonance points required to use the potion. If you can't, then they have to make a flat check. So for the most part, potions, very few of them specify that they don't require resonance. So it can be a bit of an issue, and the reason that I don't like this is that potions are a one-time use item that constitute a fair amount of what low-level adventurers would find for treasures. It's one of the more common magic items to receive. So it is possible that if you run out of resonance points and you try to use a potion, that you just won't be able to. You can attempt a flat check, but in general, the flat check starts at a DC of 11, 10 plus the number of points you're trying to or have already overspent. So if you're looking to drink a potion with no resonance points left, it's a 50-50 chance that it's going to work. The issue that I have with that is that it comes down to stuff like healing potions, for example. It could be very difficult to be able to necessarily use them. You're going to start having players either hoarding a single resonance point because they're afraid to spend it, or you'll have a situation where a character is dying, maybe there's no healing magic left. I've run several campaigns where players haven't chosen a dedicated healer character like a cleric. In fact, the first Pathfinder playtest adventure that I ran did not have a cleric in it. So just imagine having a situation where you need... I just want to see if I can find the healing potion here, but it's a little bit... I'm not finding it easily, but just imagine a situation where you've got a character that's dying, but they have a healing potion on them. They've spent all their resonance, so you got to administer it to them, and they fail their check, so it has no effect, and then the character dies. It's just one of those things that can be really, really disappointing. Or even in other situations, you have an elixir that, enhances your strength, for example, temporarily. It's something that you just kind of rely on working, and it makes sense for it to work without having to go that far into it. It's a potion. It's something that, again, is a single-use item. It's not like you can take, half the potion and, take the other half later kind of thing. You drink the whole potion and it's gone. So to come into a situation where you end up losing everything, all the entire effect of the potion, just because you ran out of resonance points and had to use them for other things, I don't like that idea. Now, how often is that actually going to come into effect? That I can't answer. It's not a situation that's happened yet in any of the games that I've run, but I can see, particularly the Alchemist class, I think might have some difficulty with that, because they use their resonance points up quite a bit just to make their alchemical items. And sure, they may have one or two elixirs of life on them, but there's also a chance that they may just end up, creating like all offensive things and rely on, say, a healer to heal them. But what happens if the healer goes down? They've spent all their resonance. So again, it's something that I don't know how frequently it's going to happen, but the fact that there's a possibility that a single-use consumable magic item could simply fail is not something that I'm a big fan of. So I would say, the number 3 on the list of things that I'm not a huge fan of or would like to see changes would be not having to use resonance points for consumable single-use items. Alright, so coming in at number 2 on the list of things that I'd like to see changed or modified is backgrounds. Now, I know I talked about how much I liked the idea of like ancestries and backgrounds in the last video that I did with the top 5 things that I really liked about the Pathfinder playtest, and for the most part, I think backgrounds do a lot of things right. Like, I think they do a lot of really excellent things. There's only one issue that I really have with the backgrounds, and that comes with the background skill feat that you gain. So for example, I'm just going to look at the Acolyte here. So the Acolyte gives you the Student of the Canon skill feat, as well as giving you training in a lore skill corresponding to your deity. So that's not bad, but the Student of the Canon skill feat requires that you are trained in religion. Now, when it comes to the background skill feats that you get, you don't have to meet the prerequisite of being trained in that skill. So that's one thing that I just want to clarify, and so that people don't try to correct me on something that I'm fully aware of. But the issue is that if the background gives you a skill feat, it should also give you proficiency in that skill. Now again, this could be one of the changes that already exists in version 1.2. I'll have to check, like I said, once I can get it to download properly. Just right now I've been having issues with it. So this again could be an entirely moot point, but as of right now, it's not one of the changes in the book. So, rather than having you, if you're going to be an Acolyte, you're likely going to be like a Paladin or a Cleric, which means you're likely to take the religion skill already, but you're choosing one of your limited number of skills from your class rather than giving you just the skill for being part of the background in addition to the lore skill, and then giving you the skill feat. I don't consider it to be very game breaking or unbalancing if your skill feat gave you training in the skill as well. And I just think that that's something that they could definitely change with backgrounds. Other than that, I think backgrounds are absolutely fantastic and wouldn't change anything else about them, other than the fact that I think that they should grant you proficiency in the skill that you get a skill feat for, because very rarely are they different from, or very rarely are they the same as the skill feat that you get. In fact, for the most part, they're pretty much always a lore feat or lore skill and a skill feat that requires training in a completely other skill. So that is something that I would like to see changed as well. Alright, so coming in at number 1 on the list of things that I would like to see sort of changed or modified for the Pathfinder playtest is the penalty for being untrained in anything, really. So Pathfinder 2nd edition has a training system implemented for practically everything that the game has. You've got you have it for attacks, saving throws, armor class, skill checks, and it just sort of continues and goes on and on and on. Your spell casting and stuff like that. The system has 5 levels of training in particular things, including, like I said, all those things that I mentioned above. So armor, weapons, skills, saving throws, etc. So if you're trained in something, your proficiency bonus is equal to your level. If you're considered an expert in something, your proficiency bonus is equal to your level plus 1. If you're considered to be a master, it's your level plus 2. And if you're considered to be like legendarily trained in something, your proficiency bonus is your level plus 3. Now, with your untrained things, so things that you're not proficient in really at all, or that you don't have a lot of background in, your proficiency bonus is equal to -2 plus your level. So at first level, it's going to be like -1, and by the time you reach second level, you've negated the penalty altogether. Now, the problem that I kind of have with that is that you still get pretty high bonuses to skills that you're not trained in. Now, I understand that skills have certain things that you can only do with them if you're trained. So I'm not trying to say that, being untrained is just as good as being trained in something with only a slightly lower modifier, because of the fact that, yes, there are aspects of your skills that you need to be trained in order to utilize. I totally get that. Like, for example, being untrained in thievery, you need to be trained in order to, disable traps and pick locks. So you can't really do it if you're not trained. But at the same time, you can still, your bonuses still get up there. When you make a 20th level character, you're still going to be getting plus 18 as a proficiency bonus to something that you're not considered to be proficient in. And the difference between being untrained and being legendarily trained is only a difference of plus 5. So from -2 to plus 3 on top of your level. Now, the reason that I'm really only focusing on unskilled or untrained things is there's plenty of opportunities to become trained in things that you're untrained in that you might use quite a bit. So for example, your character is never going to use armor, or really shouldn't be using armor, that they're not proficient in. It just doesn't make sense for them to do that. So they're not going to. Like, just logically speaking, you're never going to wear armor that you're not trained in or proficient in. You're not likely to wield a weapon that you're not trained in or proficient in. It may happen on occasion, but it's not likely to happen that often. But when it comes to skills, a lot of times, you might try to use skills even though you're not trained or proficient in them. And, again, at 20th level, you're getting plus 18 to those checks, even if you're not trained. And that just feels like too high of a bonus for me personally. Now, others may have absolutely no issue with it. And I'm not saying that I want to see the bonuses change for the other levels, like being trained, expert, master, or legendary, because they sort of should have their own separate perks, like things that you can do with the skill being legendarily trained in it versus only being, basically trained or just considered to be sort of like an expert at it. So what I would propose is, if you're untrained in something, your proficiency bonus should basically equal, and you could do away with the -2 penalty if you want, but I think your proficiency bonus should be equal to half of your level round down. And like I said, get rid of the -2. At first level, your proficiency bonus in something that you're not trained in is going to be 0. At second level, it may go up to 1, and then at third level, it stays at 1 before reaching fourth level, where it goes up to plus 2. So something that you're trained in is already going to have, a better bonus. But when you reach 20th level, in things that you're untrained in, your bonus is only going to be plus 10 versus plus 18, again, for something that you're not considered to be proficient in. So, and when it comes to basic skill checks, I don't think that someone who's not trained or not proficient in something should have almost as good a chance to do something or succeed on their skill check as someone who is actually trained in it. And again, the Pathfinder playtest typically gives quite a few skill advances to characters as they level. So if you find that you're trying to use a skill a lot, that you're not trained in, and or you would want to use it more, then you use your skill increase to become trained in it, and then that fixes that issue. So that's pretty much it, though. I mean, honestly, I can really say that for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the way that the Pathfinder playtest has been shaping up so far. This obviously they had a pretty clear idea of what they wanted to do with this edition of the game, and are going to make like sort of modifications and tweaks as they go. But we're looking more or less at the core system. If aside from my kind of personal complaints or issues, if this was the finalized version of the rules, I would still be happy with the game. The sessions that I've run so far have been quite a bit of fun, and the players that I've run for seem to have enjoyed the system overall. So I'm not trying to say that there's anything really bad or inherently wrong with the Pathfinder playtest. There's just a few tweaks and modifications that I would make personally. For example, if I were house ruling or running a homebrewed game, then I would just implement the changes as house rules that I'm discussing here today. And again, when it comes to things like, I've had people talk about saving throws, but I don't think any class has an untrained saving throw. I think they typically have like expert in one or two and then training in the other. So so a lot of those things are going to work itself out, but those are just the changes that, again, that personally I would like to make or like to see. But overall, I am really happy with the Pathfinder playtest that we have, and I'm still looking really forward to Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air overall. So anyway, let me know in the comments below what are some of the changes that you guys would like to see made to the current system. What suggestions that you might have for updates and changes, and hopefully I'll be able to get to download those 1.2 rules revisions soon, shortly, if possible. And maybe I'll be completely off base with most of these things by then. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time. Take care.